You're beta testing for a VR game. You don't give it a second thought. After all, this is your job and you've gotten good at it. You try breaking the game in every way possible. However, when you find a glitchy tape, you don't give it a second thought. After a while, you collect a few more by finishing the main levels, and you're into blacklight mode. However, when you do, you begin to see something in the distance. A green glitch rabbit waving at you. You find a cassette player. This wasn't described to you, but as you click on it, you find yourself in a weird room. The tapes begin, and you hear the story of the entity. This is the exact scenario Vanessa A found herself in at her 9-to-5 job of being a game tester. This is Glitchtrap, and it's taken the form of a yellow rabbit mascot suit. So, what is the story behind this entity? Fazbear Entertainment begins the development of the Freddy Fazbear VR experience to make fun of the indie games they've been asked to make. To speed up the process, they send out a bunch of circuit boards to be scanned into the VR game to speed up development and lower costs, specifically with pathfinding, which I do think is an important thing to call out because they do specifically say pathfinding. But upon scanning the things, this thing somehow breaks in, with no real reason given. Grab all 16 tapes and you assemble his code. He then begins to try and take over your mind, and he does succeed. Everything Tape Girl said that would stop him just wastes time. The entity manages to go from digital to the physical, leaving behind a plushie he made himself. Who is this entity? We should continue the story of the entity first. Or at least we would be if it wasn't a pretty hotly debated on what actually happened. You see, we have an issue here. In Ruin, we get confirmation that the Princess Quest ending is canon. Want to know what I mean? Watch the old video I made on the subject. But something I will bring up, and was a pretty big part of that video, is the complete lack of Burntrap. You think that directs to the Burntrap ending being true, the ending where the entity enters the old rebuilt body known as Peepaw? But he just doesn't exist. And as we can see, his boss fight room is still before we go down there in the Burntrap ending. The vent is still sealed, there's no damage caused by any fire that would have happened, etc. And while people have pointed to the glowing burners on the floor meaning something, they could still just be active from when Henry used the burners to burn the pizza place. It'd be weird for them to still be on 15 years later, but not impossible. And we can't say Tangle took him, as there's no damage Tangle causes, because Tangle is a big beast and we see what kind of things he leaves behind. And even if you want to say he just went through the vents to grab Burntrap, that vent is still sealed. So everything points to that not happening. So I talk about some insecurity breach, but it seems like he really isn't there. And with Roxy snapping out of her personality in Ruin, you know, from the whole "you are nothing, I am better than you, go crying a little Connie, you little piss baby bitch boy." Yeah, I'd say that Glitchtrap's whole control of the Pizzaplex, I think it got nerfed at some point. So Burntrap doesn't exist and we don't never hear from the entity again, right?
Wait for that thing. It's sending out some sort of distress signal and Monty is responding.
Yeah, I'm saying this thing is Glitchtrap, and there are a fair amount of reasons I'd think this. Most of them coming from the M.X.E.S troops video on the subject. First of all, just look at the entity. And then also look at this Glitchtrap enemy from Princess Quest. If anything, the M.X.E.S actually looks closer to the Princess Quest version of Glitchtrap than the VR version of Glitchtrap. Which, if Princess Quest is the canon ending, then Glitchtrap looking closer to the Princess Quest enemies actually makes a lot of sense. It's a glitch rabbit with distinctive tear mark tracks and a ghost's tail. I point to the tear marks because everybody clinged onto that fact when the Mimic story first came out, and the way that it's described Esme destroying the bots as foaming at the mouth and having tears coming down his face. But come Ruin, this thing comes up and has the exact same tear marks, and suddenly nobody talks about the fact that Glitchtrap had those anymore. I can't imagine why. Yeah, I am saying the M.X.E.S entity is Glitchtrap, and there is more evidence for it, like a fair amount more. I already called out the tear tracks. And like I said, you know, people were talking about it non-stop when the first Mimic story came out, pointing it to, hey, this means Glitchtrap is Mimic! We have clear evidence now! But then come Ruin and this thing shows up with those same distinctive tear mark tracks, suddenly it's not something we're considering anymore. Weird, right? So if anything, having him change form but still keep the tear tracks would help strengthen the idea that Glitchtrap is Mimic if this is the case. But no, what this instead does is put another hole in Tales games. As in Tales, we see that the Mimic line was a line of endoskeletons with a hive mind, which if this thing is Glitchtrap, then then the Mimic Endo in the basement should still be Glitchtrap because of the hive mind. So either we've abandoned the hive mind idea, or Tales Games isn't true and there's more evidence for it. Then there's also the fact that both are mute entities. And Glitchtrap has one line that is an ambience track, so it can't be fully trusted.
Hello? Can you hear me?
And of course, this is a trait we see carried on with Mimic, as I'll show some examples here.
I'm Gregory. I'm Gregory.
The stupid door won't open.
The stupid door won't open.
What? How is that supposed to help? There's no time.
What? How is that supposed to help? There's no time.
Are you there? I'm trapped.
Are you there? I'm trapped.
You saved me.
You saved me.
But being that it's the one tape, I am a little bit more hesitant to say this was planned from the beginning if Glitchtrap is Mimic. Because it's just the one. He also has original voice lines, like at the end of Princess Quest Mobile. And you know, the Mimic does also make seemingly whole sentences out of nowhere, but then come the third act, he's kind of stringing them together like he ran out of material to work with. What was ever with that, by the way? Whatever happened there?
Cassie, can you hear me? I finally have a clear signal. Almost. There's still one node left that's keeping the underground sealed.
Where?
Roxy's the final node. You need to deactivate her.
But
Deactivate her and save me. Save me, Cassie, please. It's so dark down here.
And then there is the Help Wanted mobile port. But these ports have always been really sketchy with what we can take from them. For example, take a look at the Afton ending is true ending in Security Breach, which come Ruin we know for sure isn't the case, and that port only came out like a few months before Ruin. So there was no way the team shouldn't have known that if there wasn't some communication issues going on. So I myself have stated that the entity here is to protect the security network, but I am starting to doubt that. So here's another fun connection I completely forgot about. So when you go to Phasoblast in Ruin, you go through the entity, but when you come out on the other side, you are right next to a Glitchtrap cutout. Not a cutout, just this silhouette left on the wall. And what's weird about that is, there is a vent over to the side there that you could say you slipped through, but it's specifically through the Glitchtrap thing we come through. Like, if you want to go play it yourself, please, go do. We do come out of that Glitchtrap thing right after hitting the entity, which is even weirder if they're not the same being. It's even weirder that, as I showed earlier, the M.X.E.S entity weirdly lines up with the design we have for the Glitchtrap enemies in Princess Quest, maybe a little bit more put together than them. And when you put on the AR mask, the Glitchtrap cutout becomes one of the Glitchtrap entities that M.X.E.S looks like. Again, could be a stretch, but I don't know anymore. With that, back to your regularly scheduled content that I recorded 3 hours ago. God damn, I've been at this a while. First of all, Blue-Eyed Helpy calls it an anonymous entity. Now, Helpy is fully aware of the security nodes. Shouldn't he be fully aware of the firewall for the security? And while you could argue this is Mimic's doing, we have very clear signs that when the Mimic affects Helpy, his eyes go yellow and he gets purple veins. But this is Blue-Eyed Helpy, specifically blue-eyed. I mean, look at that, those are some very blue eyes telling us it's an anonymous threat. So saying this is Mimic lying here isn't true. There is the possibility that whoever set up the M.X.E security just didn't inform Helpy about the security rabbit thing? Or maybe it was a later edition? But if it's a later edition, what stops it just from being the other glitchy rabbit thing? And I want to call out what it says. Anomalous. Anomalous? I don't know how to say it, but the definition is defined as deviating from what is the standard, norm, or expected. Meaning the entity wasn't expected, nor is this normal. Which is really weird if it's the firewall to the security. So, editing Crystal again. Oh boy, the more I look through this footage, the more and more I'm convinced Glitchtrap is the M.X.E.S. Okay, take a look at what I've shown you on screen.
unknown entity has hijacked security. Has hijacked security. If this thing is the security, how is it hijacking the security? And what security is LP talking about here? Cassie's security? Yeah, the more I look through this footage, the more I'm convinced they are the same thing. And this definitely helps my belief.
Another thing I want to bring up is its behaviour. Quite frankly, its behaviour is weird. We hear from Gregory that the system was made to stop Mimic from escaping, but he never mentioned the entity.
It was designed to keep it hidden, but you shut down the security, and now it's free.
And while it can be inferred the pair are related, nothing states they are, with Blue-Eyed Helpy again calling it an anonymous threat with something suspicious going on. Another thing that is curious is that thanks to the Cupcake Shop, we know the entity is the one turning on the inhibitors, but that also means leaving Cassie in AR mode sometimes, meaning she has more chances of turning off the security. Shouldn't its first course of action be to take her out of AR and then attack if it can't do that? Unless it's not the one turning on the security nodes, in which case, who is? You can say that I'm reaching and stretching with this one, but this is something that is sticking out to me more and more now I think about it. Why does it trap Cassie in AR? At that point, it might as well just leave her out of AR and let the other threats get to her. And then it just slowly teleports toward her, in which, you know, a very real tactic in a place like the Glam Salon camera puzzle is to loop around, so it has to slowly teleport towards you while you deal with the camera thing.
Or how about that time in the server room where it just kind of stood there and let Cassie do her thing, going killing her after a certain time? Did it really need to wait to let her through? It was a giant thing right then. I'm sure they could have just grabbed her and squeezed or something, you know? Like, why is it just standing there? If it's the security, shouldn't it be trying to be secure and stop her?
It makes no sense. It's also a little manipulative in what it does. And then there's it breaking through the Mimic's security thing that, like, the Mimic tries to trap it, but then it breaks free. And I don't see how this thing could have broken free unless it was able to change itself, or it's haunted. Then there's things like it's waving that, you know, the same Glitchtrap wave.
Okay, time to now I was wrong about one of these things, it'll bound to happen eventually. Look, everybody keeps saying that the M.E.X.E.S waves, but I don't think that's true. I think that what they're referring to is this image of him hunched over that he does posing sometimes, and then this image of Glitchtrap that I'm sure I'll throw up on screen. If I can't, then fuck me. Basically, it seems like he does wave at some point in the game, but I can't find any definitive proof of that. So what I said just here about the waving, you can't throw that away, and I get it, I fucked up, that's on me.
In fact, you can only interact with a face covering, and after the base game, Glitchtrap is unaccounted for. And while you can assume Princess Quest, the canon ending, kills off Glitchtrap, it's a pretty anticlimactic ending, and we have to talk about something else. Maskbot. Yes, I'm saying Maskbot was created by Glitchtrap, from the bunny ears to giving Cassie the mask that will help him get to her, or really anybody. I do think this works, and it can also explain the Music Men, or at least the ones with bunny ears, as saying they're infected with the bunny virus. As we know, Glitchtrap can teleport them to you, or the entity, I guess, if you want to keep calling it that. And then there's all these Vanny things around Pizzaplex. Now, there's two possible explanations. Either A, it's a reused asset, or B, something about Vanny is still in the Pizzaplex, whether that's Vandal's just trying to replicate her art style, or she's still around somehow. Which is weird because Glitchtrap created the Vanny thing, but come the end of the base game, we free Vanny? So this could be Glitchtrap's doing again, which gives more of a reason for me to think that this is Glitchtrap. And it could also give a good reason why the animatronics can be summoned to you to take you out. Well, M.E.X.E.S could do it on its own. Having the funny bunny man with a ghost tail and tear marks do it is suspicious. So here's what I think the M.E.X.E.S entity is. It's Glitchtrap, but after Princess Quest forced him out of the main Pizzaplex network, so it connected to the M.E.X.E.S security system to keep himself around. And once we turn off the security, we have a locked Glitchtrap in the box, leaving him forgotten, for now, or we just kill him. Like, Glitchtrap was built up for 2 games, and while Vanny at least has an ending, Glitchtrap just kind of disappears? Unless the funny bunny glitchy rabbit man with the tear marks and the ghost tail is Glitchtrap. So before I go, something hit me while I was editing that I hadn't really thought much about. But what do we get out of M.X.E.S being Glitchtrap? Well, I do think there is one thing in particular we get out of this. An explanation for what the fuck happens with Roxy. You see, something that's always stuck out to me is the fact that Roxy very clearly snaps out of her old character in Ruin. Like, it's very clearly the writer's just snapping her out of her character. But if the M.X.E.S entity is Glitchtrap, then not only do we have a somewhat reasonable explanation for what the hell happened to Roxy, we also get a new explanation for what happened to Freddy. Something that's always been weird with me is Freddy's just all collapsing in the beginning of Security Breach. So let me try and explain it like this. If the M.X.E.S entity is Glitchtrap, and Glitchtrap still has some influence over the bots, then we take a look at Security Breach, right? You see that Freddy collapses when he sees Gregory. Now, from Tales, we know that Freddy and Gregory have some sort of connection going on. And if we look to head towards Ruin, again, Gregory clearly loves Freddy. Because things like the backpack, like the walkie-talkie, and heck, even the ice cream cone at the end of Princess Quest, which was then changed in Ruin for a completely different reason we can get into in a different video. Those all point to the fact that Gregory loves Freddy. And what I'm proposing here is that Glitchtrap can be warded off by having a strong enough emotional connection with someone. So at the beginning of Security Breach, when Freddy falls over, it could now be interpreted as it being because he had such a connection with Gregory that he started to reboot and have errors. And if we take a look to Ruin with the assumption that Roxy still has some of her taken over by Glitchtrap, then her character suddenly snapping away actually lines up with what we see in Security Breach. Is it a leap in logic? Yeah, it obviously is. I'm not going to argue it isn't. But it is another thing that can be explained if Glitchtrap is the M.X.E.S entity, as we see that it has some control over the bots. But then Roxy's character snapping away with an error, that lines up with what we see from Freddy in the base game. Again, it's not a flawless connection. Tales probably has something else going on that I'm not fully aware of, but I do think it's something else to add, as now, if Glitchtrap is the M.X.E.S entity, we get an explanation for one of the weirdest things in the base game. So I've said all I've wanted to about the entity both in VR and Ruin, but now there's something I need to address. Is it Mimic entity or Will entity? And quite frankly, I'm just unsure. There's things that point to it being William, things like the beta version of the entity looking strangely close to how Fryce described his soul, like suspiciously close. But then there are things like Glitchtrap mimicking Tape Girl and its ambience. But this could be like the Fnaf 4 phone call ambience. Well, we're probably not meant to use it in any particular way. It might have been just there to fill up the background while saving on resources. Because that Fnaf 4 track is called ambience. It's probably not as important as most people put on it. And then if we stick with things like Mimic Hive Mind, this makes no sense. But if we ignore Tales and let the two Mimic entities be separate, then this does work a lot better. And ultimately, I just can't make a judgment call. Like, I don't know. In my mind, it is Mimic, but that's mostly just because I really want Peepaw gone for good. But I can't deny the possibility that Peepaw is back as this thing. And I keep saying Peepaw because I don't take William Afton as a threat seriously. At least not anymore. And if it is Peepaw, then at least we got rid of him, right? I don't know. The entity is a frickin' mess and has very clear signs of going in one direction then changing midway through production. But with that being said, I am done with this thing. Ultimately, yeah, the M.X.E.S entity, I'm pretty damn sure at this point, is Glitchtrap. Like, from the design similarities to the behavioral similarities to the fact that for a security system, it's really bad at security. I've said all I wanted to on this funny bunny rabbit man glitch thing with the tier marks and the ghost's tail and it's so on and so on. So, if you've got anything to add either for or against M.X.E.S here, maybe you want to argue some points like how, no, the behavioral inconsistency is actually a genius move because it sets up a plot twist but then doesn't really do anything with a plot twist. Please let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious and I do like responding to your guys' comments because I have made shorts and comments and that responding to these. And it does help a lot when theory crafting to have multiple people talking about this. So, until next time, take care. Bye!